Hello, hello. One second here. Let me make sure my audio is. I hope that does it. If my audio is off, somebody please tell me. Matter of fact, let me see what I got going on here while I wait for everybody to jump on. Let's find out. My audio okay? How's everyone doing today? Give me 1 second. Let me pop the lights on. Sounds okay? Yeah? Thank you for coming aboard tonight. Happy everybody's here. Happy to be with you. As always, happy to be above ground for another day. And today, I thought our topic should be stalkers and harassment, which will tie into another theme that we're going to explore here. And that theme is going to be everyone loves you when you're dead. Now, with all that being said, I have had a number of stalkers in my day. But I want to start out by telling you guys about the girl in the profile picture, Lady Alchemy, Martina Marcota, who is a very, very good friend of mine. I adore her. She is insanely talented. And the crazy thing is, this girl, for every day that I've known her, has gotten more shit online than anyone I've ever met in my life. Well, not necessarily anyone I've ever met in my life, but she eats a lot of shit online, mostly because she's conservative. She's a beautiful woman. Those are two no-nos nowadays because they don't want, you see, you have to understand something about the left in particular. The left wants all conservatives to be atrocious, hideous, horrible fucking monsters. They want us all to be old guys in fucking suits and ties. They don't want this. They don't want fucking some punk rocker guy with a bunch of tattoos, for sure. They don't want young people. They don't want hot chicks. And I will contend, and anyone out there could agree with me or disagree with me on this, the right clearly has hotter women. Clearly. When you go to a MAGA thing or a CPAC thing or a Charlie Kirk thing or a Trump rally, or take a look around at the quality of women you got going on. You might notice there's no armpit hair. You might notice that there's no patchouli BO just in the air around you. You might notice that there's nobody who's growing a unibrow to make a statement. You might notice that. And the problem is this. When you have somebody like, and you can look her up, Martina Marcota, just Google image this girl and have a good old time because she is fucking gorgeous. Everyone should look at her. And she's the kind of person, when you see her, you want to look at her even more. Well, ever since I've known her, people have been going after her online. People have made videos about her. And people have basically just mischaracterized everything and told lies. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this all back around into journalism, which is an overarching theme I know that I talk about every time I do a stream. But we're going to talk a little bit about journalism and how today there's really no such thing as journalism. Everyone's a journalist. And journalists have their tricks. Journalists have things that they do, yeah? Journalists have stuff that they do where they could present a story in such a way, and this is going to sound very sexist of me, but one of the things I say is they tell stories like a girl. Now, no one's going to accuse me of having a shortage of shit to say. If you put me in a room with a potted plant, I'll fucking talk to the thing, I promise you. But the thing is this. I will tell you the complete story. I will tell you, okay, this is what so-and-so said about me, and this is what I did, and this is, then they called me, then they texted me, then they said all these things, and I'll get into all the details, hoping to God my audience would listen to all the details just so I could make it perfectly clear. This is how it went down. Other people don't tell stories like that. They'll say, so-and-so's an asshole. So-and-so's a cunt. So-and-so did this or that. And they'll accuse you of something without really giving you all the context. And why I say like a girl is because I've had several girlfriends who will say things to their friends about me, such as, I just came home and Paul was yelling at me for some reason, and then he called me the C word. He called me a cunt. I don't understand it. And when they approach me and go, so why were you yelling at her? She said you were a maniac. I'm like, did she tell you that she set all my clothes on fire in the bathtub? They'll go, no, they left that part out. Oh, conveniently, because anything that makes them look like shit, they leave out. Guys don't gossip as much, I don't think. But when guys tell stories, they tell the complete story. There I was at a bar. I was being a fucking jerk. I told a joke. I thought it was a joke. I was kidding. I was kidding around with so-and-so. And when I told that joke to so-and-so, oh my God. Yeah, they took it the wrong way. I tried to apologize. I couldn't talk my way out of it. We got into a fist fight. He said something to me, pushed my chest. I fucking slugged him in the face. The way someone else who is less reputable might tell that story is some guy was talking shit to me and then he just punched me. And it's like, yeah, there's no context of there was a buildup, it was a joke, then it was an apology, then it turned into this, then you started yelling at me. I say, hey, don't fucking do that. You went too far. Never happens. Martina Markota has been called a lot of things. Now, this is a girl, if you don't know her, she's a New York performance artist. She is, I cannot stress, gorgeous and talented enough. And she worked for the Daily Caller. She worked for Rebel. She used to appear on Gavin McInnes's show all the time. Is basically, hey, I'm a hot conservative chick. And oh, by the way, I also majored in math. And she's very interesting. She's into like witchy shit. And she's into alchemy. And she's into magic. And she's into stuff like that. She could talk for days about it. She's awesome at it. Well, people started attacking her because she's conservative. It started with people that she worked with in the performing arts scene in New York. They started going after her. And they just started basically, pretty easy, started calling her a Nazi, started calling her a white supremacist. Well, what's their proof? Hey, she appeared on the Gavin McInnes show. Well, okay, but why? He's a Nazi. Is Gavin a Nazi? I never heard him sympathize with Nazis at all. He's conservative. He's not a Nazi. Well, we think he's a Nazi. Okay, but that doesn't make him a Nazi. And this is the theme that we're going to get to. We have a lot of themes floating around the air, but this is what we're going to get to. Is Gavin McInnes a Nazi? I don't think so. I know the guy. I've met the guy. He's never said anything like that around me. And I'm talking, no cameras were rolling. He could have if he wanted to, but he never did. Never said something racist or disparaging. That wasn't meant to be in the context of hyperbole or a joke or something that a thinking person would be able to observe and go, oh, but somebody who wants to do you wrong will take all that out of context, remove the context, remove the tone of what you're saying, which tone is very important. Tone is very important. And they'll just publish a thing saying, why is Gavin McInnes a fascist white nationalist who wants all transsexuals to be put in camps? And Gavin will sit there and go, well, I never said that. When did I say that? And, they'll have something of him going, oh, yeah, I want to put all transsexuals in camps. And they'll go, there it is. There's the fucking proof. It's not fucking proof. And this is what eats away at me with these people. They know what they're doing, particularly journalists. They know what they're doing. They know a joke when they hear one. Don't you? When you hear the tone of what somebody's saying, you know the difference between that person is being a shitty person and that person is kidding around or making light or being sarcastic. Hold on. Hey, loved your show on Marilyn Manson. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm an avid defender of Marilyn Manson as of now, at least until I see evidence. So I hope everybody stands by him because Manson, that's another example. Everyone's going after Manson right now. What's missing from the Manson story? Can anyone out there, anyone in the class tell me what's missing from the Marilyn Manson story? Something, I don't know, just a small, tiny thing. I'm just riffing here, but I'm thinking his side? You think it's his side of the story? Proof! There you go. I'd love to get an interview with you anytime. Hold on. Let me shoot you my email over here. You could write me all the details and we could interview away. There's nobody too big or small for me to talk to. Did I spell everything? Yes. Paul Bazile, gmail.com. So here's the deal. You hear that about Manson, something other than a scorned ex's word. Yeah, how about that? But here's the problem, because this happened to a very close friend of mine too. You might know him if you listen to the Gavin McInnes show on Censored TV. Ryan Katsu Rivera. He is the really, really funny half Asian, half Puerto Rican guy who's like his engineer. And at one point, he was accused of abusing his girlfriend and was even arrested for it. And I talked to him briefly after this, and he told me the story. Not going to get into all his personal shit, but suffice it to say, and this is one of those things that goes through my head when I see articles that are written by feminists, when I see articles that are written by, somebody really progressive and woke. I always think to myself this. I always go, have you met this person? Have you met the person making the accusation? Because is there a chance, I don't know, that they're fucked up? That they're fucking nuts? Is there a shot at it? Is there an outside shot? There's an agenda. Is there any shot? Because for the most part, I like to think I have a pretty good bullshit detector. I could listen to somebody's story and I could ask questions, and depending on how they respond to some of those questions, I could tell if they're trying to hide something or trying to be sincere. And I could tell, okay, if I push them in this direction, what will they say? What will they do? And how do people like this in my life, who I've personally experienced, and I believe because I know their stories are true, how do they react? It's called critical thinking, and it's something that journalists are too lazy to do nowadays. It's fucked up. Because this is something that we all have to fucking live with now, because everybody, it's the Andy Warhol thing. Everybody gets 15 minutes of fame. Everybody is like a public figure now. Everybody has an online platform. If you're on Twitter, guess what? You have an online platform. Yeah, it's true. You too. You have an online platform if you're on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. There's no such thing as being a private citizen anymore. So the problem is, for example, nobody knows me, right? You guys don't really know me. Even the people who maybe met me once or twice at whatever the fuck I was at or talked to me back and forth. You're not my buddy. You're not my brother. You're not my mom. You're not my dad. You're not my cousins. You don't know who I am. So if somebody says something horrible about me, you might go, oh, I heard you're one thing or another. I heard Paul robs banks. I heard he did this. I heard he's a fraudster. He's a liar. He stole money. And I've had people accuse me of shit like that. Paul stole money on this deal we made. And then the thing is this. Paul stole money is a quicker soundbite than actually, no. He told me to go over here and do this, work on my own thing. Then I told him I'd wait, but I'd only wait this long to do it. And then before I knew it, I started selling the thing we made together without the guy because he left me to go work on his own thing and steal it from me. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, who gives a shit? This is boring. Yeah, I know it's boring. But this is the kind of boring minutia, if you're a journalist, that you need to get into, because here is what we're talking about today. Who are you? Who are you? Are you what people say you are? And are you defined by what people say you are? Or are you who you are? Are you what you say you are? If you tell me I'm, for example, big one is racist. I'm not a racist or a homophobe, something like that. Now, it's worse that, like, literally OJ is on Twitter, but if they think you're racist, they kick you off Twitter right away, right? Hold on, let me check in. The problem with today is everyone believes what they see on social media. Exactly. Social media has become the judge and jury. Yeah, your actions define who you are. Who you are defines who you are. Who you say you are defines who you are. For example, if you're a vegetarian and you eat steak every night, guess what? You're not a fucking vegetarian. But on Instagram, you could present yourself one way, and other people could present you another way. And there's easy ways to prove and disprove this. You need criteria first. And with certain things, with certain rumors, like in the case of Lady Alchemy, There is no criteria. Oh my God, her former coworkers have done interview after interview with progressive rag after progressive rag. Facts, that's right. Progressive rag after progressive rag, where they'll just sit there and they'll fucking say, oh yeah, she started getting radicalized. She would say things that were anti-feminist. And then all of a sudden, the anti feminist stuff turned into something bigger. And when Trump started running, oh, she became radicalized. None of that means anything. Do you know that? Do you know that? If somebody says somebody made anti feminist comments, do you know that's bullshit? You know that doesn't mean anything, right? You know that's not a provable criteria for why to hate somebody, especially when there's people here. I mean, shit, man. I wrote an article today for Censored about a guy who just he fed his neighbor's heart, right, to his family, then stabbed most of his family to death, who he was living with. Okay? That guy was released from jail like 3 times. And every sentence, as I'm writing the article, I'm looking it up and I'm like, oh, well, what did he do? And this and that. Every sentence was like, then he got 20 years. I'm like, oh, 20 years? Wait, hold on. That was in 2007. He goes, then after 3 years, the judge let him out with 20 years probation. 5 months later, he violated that probation and was sentenced to another 20 years. Oh, okay. Now he's going to stay in jail. Then 3 years later, they let him out again. And the governor intervened and this and that. And then before you know it, he's ripping open his neighbor's chest, ripping her heart out, cutting it up, cooking it with potatoes, mind you. And then he's fucking sauteing it, feeding it to his family before he goes on a blood rampage and stabs 3 people. 2 of them died. 1 of them was a little girl. That's fucked up. But it's one of these things where most people don't even go through the trouble of finding out who you are and finding out why you got to where you are, why you made the decision you made. I'll give you another great example. The last video I made, I believe, was on my relationship with Michael Graves, the former singer from the Misfits. Me and Michael had a rough 10 years. I'm not going to lie. We were not each other's favorite person for most of that time. He said some things about me that I thought were uncalled for and unnecessary. I retaliated. I got really mad, really bitter. I said some things about him because I was just mad and upset, and I didn't understand why all this bullshit, and especially with a guy I liked, especially with a guy who I was a fan of his work, a fan of his music, and I thought he was a great, wonderful, talented person. And all of a sudden, Michael Graves is talking shit about me. And he knows me, and in my head, I'm like, pick up the fucking phone if you have something to say. Now, keep in mind, this was a long time ago. Ever since then, we both grew up. He's had 3 kids. He's a fucking terrific dad. Talented guy. And I couldn't imagine something bigger from him than him reaching out to me on purpose, which he did. He knew like a mutual person we knew. We went on the Bobby Pickles podcast. Bobby facilitated it. It was literally like, the Middle East peace accord, but in the weird, tiny, teeny little world that I occupy in the much larger, teeny, tiny world of the Misfits lore and stuff like that. And we were able to kind of bond over both being censored, both having lies told about us. And I informed him, he didn't know about this. I told him on the show, you know that people are making things that say Michael Graves is a racist. They have like patches and stuff that say Michael Graves is a racist. He went, no, they're not, dude. And then he was like, well, I guess if my name is still means something enough to people that they're actually going out of their way to do that, that's a good thing. And good thing, not that they're calling him racist, but good thing that he somehow his work has impacted people that they think they could even make a buck off of just writing down that he's a racist and putting it on like a wristband or whatever these people are making. Censorship and cancer culture need to be abolished. Yes, censorship. I agree. The problem is this. Everything now is cancel culture, though, right? Don't you think? Like everything becomes, let's get them. Another article I worked on today for Censored.tv was about a California professor who's been put on leave because he was a little bit snippy with a girl who was hard of hearing, hearing impaired, whatever. I don't think she was all the way deaf, but she had hearing issues. They put him on leave. They're doing an investigation. He's a little snippy. I don't think he knew that she had a disability, But he was like, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. He started getting a little cross with her. And there's threads on Twitter being like, and he's like a anatomy, I guess he's a radiologist who teaches anatomy at a school. And there's whole threads where people like, fire him, get him fired. He should lose his job. Then other people going, he should lose his radiology license. He's a licensed radiologist. Let's pull his license. How dare he talk to a disabled person like this? And all I kept thinking is, what if he just didn't know? And what if he's used to coming to class every fucking day and seeing lazy students not paying attention, and he calls their name and they just don't respond, especially on these like Zoom calls that everyone's doing now for classes and stuff? What if he just didn't know? Does he deserve to have his life ruined? Like, what is it? It comes down to, what is the appropriate punishment for one person lived an entire lifetime, and in that lifetime did one thing you might not agree with, might not like, or you think they made the wrong move? Have you always made the right move in your life? It's a cast the first stone situation. I'm going to read over here from Misanthropic Torment. I love the gothy name. It's awesome. I'm in the process of writing an album called Career Suicide. It's about canceling cancel culture. People are too sensitive. Absolutely. Well, and that's the other thing. Nobody understands the idea of, hey, like if you're offended by something I say, has it ever occurred to you that that's your problem? That it's not my problem to adjust my thought, my thing I say. Now, keep in mind, if we're good friends, I say something, maybe I'm a little out of line, a little bit, I'm out of line, shouldn't have said that, went too far. And I've had friends who've pulled me to the side and said, hey, I was making a joke, or like, hey, what you said, man, that wasn't fucking cool. And I 100% of the time have said, sincerely, I was joking. I would never say something like that to hurt your feelings. I was breaking balls. I break balls all the time. Sometimes I go too far. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. And 100% of the time so far, that's worked. That's worked just fine in Paul Bazile's life, to do that when you have a conversation like that. Where it doesn't work is when you don't address that. You run online and you tell the world, this person said something horrible about my mother, or this person thinks it's funny that and you go on and do your bullshit cancel culture thing. And then you try to, like, basically, and this is what it is at the end of the day, it's mob rule. You try to turn the mob on that person. Now, Martina Markota is being stalked. It is a targeted harassment campaign that was initially kicked off by these people who she worked with. But they literally went to the media to try and get attention, that just saying she's a Nazi, she's a white supremacist, she's this, she's that. And these people who are writing about her are so liberal and so thirsty to call anyone a racist and a white supremacist and a fascist and every white nationalist, everything you can think of, that despite the fact that there's no evidence, the evidence they cite is they go, sometimes she shares questionable memes. And it's like, oh, goodness, memes. That's how the Holocaust started. Are you out of your fucking mind? It's a meme. So what? It's a joke. It's a little... half the shit. I have news for everybody. By the way, if you go to Twitter, follow at American Waste Creations. You could see some of the work that I'm about to do and that I'm doing, that other people are putting out for me, and I'm having like PR people in a company do shit for me now because I'm kicked off of Twitter. Because I'm not allowed on Twitter. Why aren't I allowed on Twitter? Some of you might be asking, Paul, what did you say? You must have, because this is what I always get. You must have done something. Paul, you must have said something. Paul, why don't you take it easy? Because you must have done something. I'm going to tell you what I did. I hung around Milo Yiannopoulos and Gavin McInnes, and I supported the Proud Boys. Why? Because I'm not going to turn my back on things, ideas, or people based on a lie. Okay? Once again, this is what we're talking about. What matters more? Does it matter what people are saying about you or what you are? Because those are two different things. And the fucked up thing is, We're all over the place. We got my story, we got Martina's story, we got the Michael Graves story. Michael Graves did the same thing. He said, I support Trump, I support the Proud Boys, blah, 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 blah. Gavin McInnes is a good dude. Got kicked off of all his social media, had tens of thousands of followers, kicked off instantly. Why? Because he's a racist. Is he a racist? I don't know. Here's the thing. I said a lot of bad things about Michael in the past when me and him were button heads. Racist is not one of the things I said, because he's not. And I didn't like him for what I thought he was, you know? And the problem is, and all this shit is short-sighted, it wasn't necessarily who he was as a person at the time, right? Apply this to your own situation. It was who he was in relationship to me at that particular period of time that I didn't like. Because who you are in 5 years might be very different than who you are now. Sometimes you change, you learn, you grow, you mature, and sometimes it happens without you even fucking knowing it. And Twitter, Facebook, cancel culture people take none of that into account. If you did something when you were 16 that was bad, if you're 35, you should be held accountable for that. Can everybody here stand behind some shit they did when they were 16? And furthermore, there's people like Martina who didn't say a goddamn thing that was wrong. What did she say that was wrong? When you look into it, there's a great video somebody just put out today. And if you go to American Waste Creations on Twitter, you could see it was just tweeted out because, you know, they support Martina and stuff like that too. So they tweeted this video out all about her controversy, which kind of inspired me to do this, because it's all about, and believe me, I lived it with her. I was right there with her, seeing all the craziness happen. And the fucked up thing is, these people who are putting it out are way more, yeah, Martina does fucking rule, man. Now, the people who are putting all this shit out are way, way, way more invested in the minutia of the lives of what amounts to, and remember this, fucking strangers. They don't know you. They don't know you. They don't know you. Martina doesn't know these people, even if she worked side by side. They weren't buddies. They saw each other at work. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Once or twice a week. That was it. But no. They have their PhD in Martina as far as Salon.com is concerned, as far as BuzzFeed's concerned, as far as all these things are concerned. They'll take an instant in your life, like, a video or a picture of you with someone who then later does something controversial, and they'll go, look, this person supports this person, so they deserve to be kicked off. So I was kicked off of Twitter for association. It had nothing to do, and by the way, and when they kicked me off was when they arrested the Proud Boys in New York, including my roommate, Max. They arrested everybody that week, like within a couple days or so. NY knows the deal. They arrested everybody, and when they did that, you know, Cuomo was tweeting. Cuomo. Hey, Cuomo's never done anything wrong. Oh, let me think. Has that guy? No, he's a perfect fucking human being, is Andrew Cuomo. Well, he was one of the key people who threw Max and John in jail. John Kingsman. Go to justiceforliberty.com and donate, please, because he's in jail while his kids and his wife have to fucking fend for themselves, and he was the provider. And Max Hare, my roommate and very good friend, who got sent away based on Cuomo said something. Cuomo said these people are racist and evil and this won't be tolerated in the streets. Then they said, oh, it's Proud Boys. Anyone who talks good about the Proud Boys, anyone associated with the Proud Boys, anyone tweeting out shit from Proud Boy websites or anything, we're deleting all your accounts. I was among them. Hundreds of accounts disappeared that day. I was among them. What did I do? Racist. Why am I racist? You're associated with the Proud Boys. Are the Proud Boys racist? Well, this newspaper says, SPLC says they're racist. Well, isn't that some fucking shit? The SPLC's never been wrong about anything. And keep in mind, these are people who make a hate list. And when you want to talk about journalism, if you're putting people on a list with the Klan and the like Aryan Brotherhood and all these white nationalist groups and terrorist groups, wouldn't you think you should be really, really, really careful with who you put on that list. You better make damn sure they better just be flagrantly flaunting their racism in front of everybody. SPLC puts us on their fucking hate list. Why? They have the quotes. They have a lot of the quotes are jokes. A lot of the, from like Facebook interactions or rambles and rants that Gavin has said for hours on time, where at a time where he's telling a joke and they go, "Oh, Proud Boy's racist." Oh, okay. And they go, "Oh, look at this joke. He said this," and they show you half a sentence and go, "That proves it." Doesn't matter that you like. I could almost understand, just almost, if you sat with Gavin and asked him, what are your thoughts and ideas on this? Not just what are people saying about the thoughts and ideas that they heard, but what are your actual thoughts and feelings and ideas on this? We want you to set the record straight. Somebody could talk to Paul Bazile. Hey, Twitter, call me any fucking time. Maybe I can get my account back. Talk to me any day of the week, and let's set the record straight. Ask me, do you condone violence? Ask me, are you racist? Ask me, give me a criteria, talk to me about my feelings, because I will sit there and say, no, I don't condone violence. No, I'm not a racist. Yeah, but what about this person that you're vaguely associated with, attached by 4 people, and he beat up someone once? Yeah, someone I know got into a fight. That, you see the difference? So-and-so perpetuated violence. Yeah, a buddy of mine got into a fight. Same thing, but when you just say it with an air of shit-smelling importance to it, suddenly it becomes a big deal. Jimmy Z's chiming in. Let's go check in on him. Cuomo down to de Blasio, justice system, fuck all of them, yes. We both know Gavin. He's extremely reasonable. He's very reasonable. He's never, if you ask, Gavin is not this man of mystery. Either am I. Either is Martina. And for that matter, either is Michael Graves. If you ask us what we think of things, we'll tell you. Does that sound crazy? Like if you say to me, what do you think of black people? I have no problem saying I have no issue with black people. I don't try to judge people on the color of their skin. I do my best to judge everybody as an individual before anything else. And if you need it, I have girlfriends that are black, have had girlfriends that are black. I've had best friends that are black. I've worked in places where I was the only white guy and we all got along famously and everybody fucking loved each other. Some of my best and worst tattoos are done by my good friend Finley Sedone, who's a awesome black dude that I know. Oh, so you think having black friends makes you not racist? Well, I think it's a fucking step in the right direction, don't you? Because here's the thing. People try to discredit that, but at the end of the day, I just emailed you. Thank you very much. I will get back to you after the stream for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Here's the thing. I don't understand why, hey, I date a black girl or I have black friends. Why they go, I have black friends means you're not racist. It's like, yes, sort of, right? Because a Klansman wouldn't do that. An Aryan Brotherhood guy wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? And then they say, well, what do you think about slavery? I don't. But B, I guess if you're forcing the issue, I don't think about lacrosse either. But shit, if we're forcing the issue, yeah, I'm against it. And there you go. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. They ask you like these common sense things, almost like you're an alien who landed from an evil planet. And they want to ask questions about like, what do you think of using death rays on people? Are you against that? And the alien might say yes. Yes. Or he might say, no, I'm going to vaporize everybody. It's like, are you that thick? Or what do you think of me? And that's what I think when I sit down with journalists. But journalists have a counterpart to them, stalkers. And a lot of times sources for stories, like, for example, Misanthropic, the Marilyn Manson story, their sources could be anything, which is why it's so funny when, like, Hunter Biden's laptop gets out there. And when Hunter Biden's laptop gets out there, suddenly Twitter was like, whoa, we have to verify the source. We have to verify the source. Do you? Do you? You know who their sources normally are? Disgruntled employees, People who lied and they're trying to make themselves look better in the press. Crazy ex-wives who have a grudge or a vendetta. Ex-business partners who have a vendetta or a grudge or are looking to get even or something like that. Does that ever fucking matter to a journalist? Tell me. Does it ever matter what the source is? And all they want to know is so-and-so who knew so-and-so says so-and-so about such and such. That's it. That's all they want to know. Then all of a sudden you hear crazy ex-girlfriend comes out. And I was talking a little about my buddy Ryan Katsu Rivera. And this is what I was saying because people were calling him an abuser and this and that. If you've ever met Ryan, my God, it's like you called this one wrong. And if you ever met his crazy fucking ex, she was a fucking nut. She was a yelling, screaming nut. She was a wild, nutty, lunatic of a fucking human being with no couth whatsoever. She was an absolute bitch to everyone around him, including myself, including Gavin. So, you know what? Fuck that girl. And then you find out she runs around going, yes, I'm an abused woman. It's like, yeah, you're an Instagram model who wants fucking attention. But that's not a story. Instagram model wants attention isn't a story, but Instagram model used to date somebody and he's associated with a conservative guy and she's crazy and she, by the way, abusive the other way, abusive to him, plenty, total shit dick to everyone around him for no reason whatsoever, but don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Don't tell the whole picture and say, well, this crazy person came up to me and said some crazy fucking nonsense. No, they leave that part out. They just say, an ex-girlfriend who was very close said, I was abused. That's how you get Marilyn Manson, possibly. Let's wait for the proof. Let's wait for facts to come out. But so far, I feel like if they've had it, they would have showed it to us, right? Truth doesn't matter. Truth is what people can make the masses believe. I love Ryan too. He's a sweetheart. Yes. If you have a problem with Ryan Katsu Rivera, it is your fault. Look at what happened. Look exactly what happened to Johnny Depp. Turns out, crazy bitch. Crazy bitch. The only one who stood up for Johnny Depp, to his credit, was Doug Stanhope, who said, if you spent 5 minutes with this fucking wife of his, she's a fucking nut job. Doug Stanhope is a fucking stand-up guy for doing that. And then we all find out the truth. Turns out Johnny Depp isn't some wife-beating, abusive fucking asshole after all. Turns out Johnny Depp is a pretty fucking solid guy. Turns out Johnny Depp records her admitting, oh yeah, I lied about you and blah, 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 and this and that. And it's like, so you're hearing half of the truth. In the meantime, he was cut from his studio. His agent dropped him. He's losing. I mean, if you make $20 million a fucking movie, and now you're losing that every 6 months, every year, whatever, that's a lot of fucking money. And if you have all these houses and boats and cars and you have this lifestyle of a multi-millionaire because you could afford it, not everyone just sits on their money, all of a sudden you don't have that income coming in. And what the fuck do you do now? What do you do? How do you get $20 million? Scare it up. Go on. Do it. Normally, if you're an actor, you act. If you're a musician, you're a musician. If you're running a business, you do that. But now that could ruin everything. It could ruin everything you worked for over 3, 4, 2, 1 decade, whatever. All this heartache and work that you put in, it's this power thing. People know they could ruin you, which is why we're getting to the counterpart of the journalists. These people, these sources who know that they could ruin you, they want control. They want to see you submit. They want to see you grovel and apologize and pay attention to them. How many ex-girlfriends or ex-boyfriends possibly have you had out there, anyone, who called you constantly? How many? How many people have you had, have you seen, have you witnessed, who you went, I just want you to leave me the fuck alone. And they text you and text you and text you and text you and text you. Some of their names are Laura Loomer, by the way, allegedly. But these are those people who go out there and they text and text. They call you and call you. They email and email. You ignore. Then they go to a friend of yours and say, he has a little dick. Or, she's a fucking crackhead. Or some manner of rumor, innuendo, or bullshit. Then that starts going around. Oh, that doesn't work. Well, now there's a platform for everybody. Isn't that nice? And now if you say, I'm a victim and I deserve to be believed, that's as much as it takes. Let's check in. If I knew how to get 20 million, my career would be doing awesome. Yeah, you and me both. Even though on Celebrity Net Worth, I believe I'm worth 10 million, according to them. And I was laughing about that at first, being like, $10 million? I'm not worth $10 million. Until I realized, oh, that's what I should be worth. That was a little fucking, that was a sleepless night right there. The point being, these people turn into stalkers. Do you have any stalkers? I'm sure almost everyone out there has a stalker. Now, I'm a guy, I call it a pseudo-star. Nobody really knows who I am, but people have seen me. Shit like that. I've done enough. Refer to my black girlfriend comment if you want. It's noteworthy. Okay. I think the worst thing I could say to these people is that my girlfriend is black. That's when they do. Yes, it's same thing with Milo. He's gay with a black husband. He's a racist and he's a homophobe. He's gay with a black husband. He's raising black kids at his house. What's less racist than taking a black dick in your ass and raising black children? But that doesn't matter. You don't say the things we want you to say. You don't treat black people like pets or like this thing, this orb, this class that's somewhere else. You actually treat them like human beings. You treat them like individuals. You don't treat your husband like the black man in your life. You treat him like a person you love, Milo. That incenses them because, once again, as I was talking about earlier, they want, if you're conservative, right-wing, Republican, libertarian, or anything in between, they want you to be the guy in the stuffy suit. They want you to be an old fat guy with, gray beard who's never eaten pussy in his life. Went through life smoking cigars, just not eating pussy. Going, I refuse. That's for gays. And that's who they want us all to be. They want us to be people with no tattoos, someone who never got a piercing, never dyed their hair, never had a drunken night out, never tried coke, never smoked weed. That's who they want us to be. But I look around at the people I know, and I'm just mentioning a few names that I've been mentioning here. The people in my life, like Martina Marcota and Ryan Rivera, do not add up to that stereotype. Artsy, witchy chick who also happens to be conservative. Gorgeous, hot, beautiful, talented, wonderful. They don't want any of that. It undermines their point. Because their point is, they're just stuffy Bible beaters. Ryan Katsu Rivera, hilarious, can impersonate anyone, is I don't even know if you call him a comedian, but whatever commentary he does, it's always funny as shit. Plays the guitar, half Japanese, half Puerto Rican. They don't like that. Shatters what they're telling people we all are. Michael Graves, he's not like a guy in my life, but we recently were able to speak, which was awesome. Michael Graves, lead singer from the Misfits. Tats, paints his face like a skull, total fucking pothead, and a conservative. And he wrote Dig Up Her Bones. So you know what? Suck my fucking ass. This is who we're hanging out with. This is where the fucking party is. I don't need friends. I don't need liberal friends if they don't want to be friends with me. I have no problem because I don't judge people solely on politics either. I don't judge people by one characteristic unless they let that characteristic encompass everything they're all about. And it just gets annoying and I stop returning their fucking phone calls. But it's crazy because they want you to be something. And when you're not that, they'll just say you are. They want, if you're conservative, for example, they want you to be a Nazi. But he's not a Nazi. Like, he's actually never said a bad word about anything. He certainly never called for genocide. Who do you know calls for fucking genocide, by the way? Yeah, who do you know calls for genocide? He's never said anything hateful to Jewish people. Whatever, man. I'm not Jewish, but my family's married into Jewish family, so I have Jewish people in my family. I have Jewish cousins. It was never a thing for me growing up. It was just, that's your cousin, whatever. Like, we never went, and you're different than me? What? What the fuck? No. Black people, I am currently surrounded by black people. They are in and outside my house right now, and I choose to live here because I don't give a shit who my neighbors are. I rent parts of my house to black people because they were the best renters. They were the best candidates. Oh, you have a job, you're friendly, you're polite, you shook my hand when you walked in, you're in. That's it. And it turns out we all get along famously. Isn't that weird? And when I tell them, like, because obviously people, my neighbors and people I know, don't follow along with all my bullshit. When I go, they call me a fucking racist all the time. They just like go, you? Do they know how you live? Do they know everyone in your life right now in your local area coming in and out of here is black? Do they know that? I'm like, doesn't matter. If I tell them that, it only makes it fucking worse. It's fucking insane. And it's true. We are now the cool kids table. The left are a bunch of people who think dyeing a pink streak in your hair makes you a nonconformist. It doesn't. It's up here. It's in your fucking head. It's who you are as an individual. And if you're really thinking your own thoughts, or if you're just retransmitting thoughts that other people thought for you. Ooh, is your email case sensitive? I don't think so. But maybe I did a typo because I typed it real quick. But it's just my name at gmail.com. Paul Bazile, gmail.com. That should be that. So please hit me up with that. But yeah, they don't want us to have any of the cool kids. They don't want us to have gay people on our side. They don't want us to have black guys on our side. They don't want us to have artists on our side, musicians on our side, which is why artists and musicians and actors and people like that nowadays, just Justin, are running in fear of being called conservative. And they're running. Hold on 1 second. And if you have a problem with the email, send me your email and I'll make sure to hit you back up. Is it cool? Us being cool and likable is a threat to them. That's why they hated Trump and the Proud Boys. You're 100% right. Why they hated Trump, the Proud Boys, Milo, and pick your poison. Roger Stone, Alex Jones. It's because we are effective. They don't like that. So how do they get you? Well, Paul, me, I'm responsible for what I say, right? Paul isn't really saying anything that crazy. But his friend got arrested. And if his friend gets arrested, let me copy your email. If his friend gets arrested, then maybe that means that we could say, he endorsed, you're still friends with him. It's like, I know people whose fathers got arrested for like pedophilia. And they still support them. I'm not saying that that's right to support somebody like that, but I know people who are like, it's my dad. He got caught fucking with kids. And you're like, huh? What? Huh? I know, well, a more relatable example is I also know people who, couples who cheated on each other but stay together. Right? But it doesn't fucking matter because you can't support that person if they did one thing that we perceive as wrong. Now, keep in mind, the Proud Boys, when they got all booted off, which included myself, off Twitter, what happened there? Well, we were found guilty by association before what? A trial. Before anyone heard the other side of the story. And what did they use as sources? Antifa blogs. What is Antifa? A domestic terrorist organization hell-bent on destroying anything remotely right-wing. Matter of fact, they don't think that there are such thing as normal conservatives. They see us all in the same vein, and that vein is we are all, according to them, we are all radical right-wingers. Radical extremist right-wingers. Now, that gets into stalking, and that gets into believing what you hear about people. You have to always keep in mind, no matter what you say about somebody or think about somebody, if you're about to put that out in public and you don't know who that person is, be very careful about what you say. Because it might not be true. It might be fucking bullshit. Especially if you didn't get to ever hear the other person's side of the story. Now, if you hear it and you go, oh, I don't like that, totally fine. Unlike a way. Why the fuck not? But if you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, then maybe you should reserve your judgment or say, hey, it looks bad if this girl's telling the truth or if this guy's telling the truth and maybe we should or shouldn't believe him. But Jesus Christ, I have to tell you, I have had campaigns against me. When you want to talk about targeted harassment, nowadays, motherfucker will just go on Twitter, say your fucking name, call you whatever they want, and nothing ever happens to them. Nothing ever happens. And furthermore, Twitter, if what they say is bad enough and gets enough traction, Twitter will delete me. Why? You shouldn't be able to make your case for who you are. I can't? Keep in mind, Richard Spencer, who's a confessed white nationalist, is still on Twitter. Why do you think he's on Twitter, but I'm not allowed on Twitter? Could it be because he's not effective? Could it be because he literally has a dozen guys who follow him because he's fucking insane? Because he has these insane racial things, and it's not very attractive to most people because most people have black friends. I don't think the racial issue is as bad as everyone thinks it is. Most people have a black friend. Most people have a gay friend. Most people have people in their family and have integrated families and stuff. So what Richard Spencer is trying to sell everyone about being so uptight about race and privilege and everything like that, most people aren't buying that. Most people know it's bullshit. Gavin, on the other hand, saying stand up for your country, be cool, get laid, dude. Smoke weed, go drinking beers with the guys, start a men's club and say no girls allowed. This is day for the guys. That is dangerous. That's dangerous to them because they go, that makes people want to be more just conservative. They're going to vote for Trump. They're going to vote for whoever, the Republican in their area. We're going to lose power. Right, which is why they bust their ass and work so hard to just fuck people like you and me over. And that's why people like James O'Keefe came out with a Project Veritas thing today with a tech CEO, I believe, saying just that we are trying to freeze out conservatives. If you're conservative, we want to push you off our platforms, give you no voice to speak, give you no way to communicate, make your case, make a convincing argument, and move on with your fucking life. That is what they're trying to do. That's what they want. And they cheer. They cheer every time a conservative gets kicked off of social media or whatever. And once again, I'm going to tell you a story about stalkers, okay? Because this is the quality of people who are going after all of you and me and people I fucking know. So, I have a stalker. I have multiple stalkers, but I have a guy who 10 years ago, he came into a restaurant I worked in. We threw him out. Why? Because he slapped a girl on the ass while hitting on her, didn't get a table, just sort of was walking around mingling like he was at a big party, and taking food off people's tables and sitting with people and acting like, hey, can I hang with you guys? And customers were complaining. We had a talk with him. We asked him to leave. Eventually, he just kept babbling, and we grabbed him by the arm, took him out of the restaurant. A couple days later, 2 a.m, we're closing up, comes back to the restaurant. Now he's all hot and bothered and yelling in our faces. Why did you kick me out of here the other day? He won't leave. He ends up getting into a fight with one of the waiters. I end up interjecting. Somehow my girlfriend got involved. She's there. He's yelling in my girlfriend's face at the time. And my manager knocks him to the ground. He gets on top of my manager. I go behind him to pull him off my manager, and he bites my arm. I still have a scar on this tattoo over here. That little light part is where he bit me in the arm. I said, I need an ambulance. Please call the cops. That's exactly what happened. They took him away. They took me to the hospital. A couple days later, sitting at home. And guess what? This guy's outside my window. No shit. Now, you might go, well, how do you know where you live? Well, I only lived a couple blocks from where I worked. He was hanging out in the club next door. I knew everybody at this punk rock club next door. They all knew me as the guy who lived above the record store on Bloomfield Ave in Montclair, where I lived at the time. So someone said, oh, he's the guy who lives above the record store. Well, he ended up showing up at the record store and was standing outside my house screaming about me. And I showed up and I ran him off. I didn't hit him or anything. I just, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing at my house? Call the cops again. We end up going to court. Everything gets mutually dismissed 10, 11 years ago at this point. Motherfucker has Twitter pages dedicated to me. He put out a full-length And when I say put out a full-length documentary, the word documentary is used very loosely. He put out like some YouTube video, terrible, horribly edited documentary that he tried to put like all this dramatic music into, using all my Facebook posts. And I realized watching this, I'm like, this guy, and by the way, he's been following me for at least a decade, following all my social media accounts, tracking every post I make. You know what he had on me? That. He had fucking zilch. He had nothing. He had nothing. Like, his worst thing that he kept showing is a picture of me holding one of my friend's guns in my house, like, hey, like making a funny face and smoking my pipe with no shirt on and my big belly. I was like fatter as shit. I'm fat as shit now, but I was even fatter. And my belly's hanging out and I'm smoking and I'm holding the gun. And he's like, Paul is stockpiling illegal weapons at the house. Then he doxed my address at the time. And then he said that I was planning to shoot up a school or a synagogue or a mosque. What was his evidence? Oh, he's part of the Proud Boys. Oh, he associates with this one and that one and this one. He's racist. Oh, by the way, the attack on him, he doesn't categorize it as we were throwing him out of a restaurant and he started taking swings at some of us. He categorizes it as a racially motivated attack, which didn't matter. Oh, he was black, by the way. I forgot to mention that because it's a stupid detail. That's how he spells it out. And to this day, he is still stalking. He has sent packages to the houses of some of the other waiters that were involved in the fight that night. Barely had a fight, like a couple hits, and then basically, get him the fuck out of here and call the fucking police. He, to this day, and you have to realize this about everyone out there, whatever you're going through with your crazy stalker, the reason they're stalking you is because you are literally the most interesting thing that's ever happened to them. Whether it's an ex-girlfriend or just some guy like me, and I have ex-girlfriend stalkers too, and I have other types of stalkers. Some guy like me who, I was at work, I was minding my own business, and this guy comes in, starts a bunch of shit, we throw him out, and he started like writing essays about how we are a racist, that this restaurant was actually a racist gang kicking out black people. And we're like, well, you being black had nothing to do with anything. Nobody mentioned that. Nobody said anything to you about being black and you can't be in here. Then I would understand. Then I would go, oh, well, that's a racially motivated thing. But nothing like that happened. That doesn't stop him from telling the story that, oh, no. And by the way, I'm sure he's watching this at some point. His name's Byron. Hi, Byron, you little fucking asshole. Get a fucking life, dude. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, man? Can't you find one more interesting thing that happened to you other than the day I kicked your ass because you were fighting people at the restaurant? Is there one thing you could find in your life? No. There's a professor at DePaul University that was on top of every Instagram post I had back in the day. I had to call his job eventually. Going on saying things like you're a homo because you work with Milo, you guys probably fuck each other, and this guy's a progressive. And I'm going, this is pretty homophobic for a progressive. Wouldn't leave me alone. Started putting my parents' address, well, now it's their former address, but my parents' address, he started putting that on Instagram in the comments everywhere. Started fucking just every comment. I'm talking 60, 70 comments. And I would just be getting notifications all fucking day. And I'm going, this fucking guy, man, he has nothing. And he's always telling me what a great filmmaker he is, which is like, okay. And he's going, look me up, look up my resume. And at one point I did, after like the third time he said it, I'm like, let me check him out. Marty, very unimpressed. It was like some horseshit resume. Like he was like the gaffer on a couple indie films, but he's going, oh, you think you're a filmmaker, you're a wannabe filmmaker. Oh, you made, one documentary, you made Living the American Nightmare, but you're fucking nothing. Look at my TV credits, look at this, look at that. And I look it up and I'm like, the guy's literally done not a single impressive thing in his life. He like ran cables and lights on a couple indie films with no budget. Ooh, I did that too. I just didn't put it on my resume, asshole. But this guy, I'm talking for months. I'm talking 2-3 months before I eventually said, I'm going to call DePaul University, see if I get in touch with this guy's boss. Maybe that'll make him back off. Like, I was told by people, you should fly to Chicago and run in with a camera and start asking them, why are you so obsessed with my life? And I'm like, you see, I don't want to even go that far. It's too much thought and effort. Good point. They all come down to them not having a life. None of them have a life. All the people that stalk people, and people are on top of Martina, obsessing about everything she did. One of her screen handles for Martina Markota was like Lady Alchemy 33. People were obsessing on what the 33 might mean and what racial connotation does the number 33 mean. And she just said, it's my favorite number, and it's like a number and magical shit, and I happen to like it. And I laughed at her and went, yeah, actually, it's my favorite number too. It was because it was the number on the back of my hockey jersey when I played hockey, and it's Patrick Waugh's number, the great goalie Patrick Waugh was one of my favorites. 33. Nope. One person actually said about Martina that 33 was the year that the Nazis opened the first concentration camp, and that's why. And it's like, boy, are you overthinking this. And I see that with the Proud Boys in general. People who jump on top of the fucking Proud Boys literally will sit there all day going, what could this mean? Oh, when they put this meme out, what's all the subtext? What does this mean? And it's like, when Gavin said this, what does he really mean? What's he trying to pull out of people? And I think to myself, don't you think for 2 seconds sometimes it's just a joke? Is that possible that we're kidding? Is it possible that it means nothing? Is it possible that I might have a favorite number because I played hockey, 33? Hockey, look, Devils fan, got a signed picture of the entire Stanley Cup 1995 team hanging right behind me up there. Love hockey, always loved hockey, always will love hockey. Nope, it means that you support. By the way, who knows the first year they invented the concentration camp or whatever it was? Like, I had no idea what that was. Martina had no idea what that was, but that's what they were literally putting out there repeatedly on Twitter. And people will read it, believe it, and then write about it later on 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 years from now in a story that is what happened with that. Misanthropic torment, in my opinion. If people would stop obsessing about race, we wouldn't have racism. I think you're absolutely right. Racism only exists because people keep bringing up race. People are racially obsessed. It's not even bringing it up. They are obsessed. They define everything by, you find out that 2 people got into a fight and somebody goes, whoa, what color were all the people involved? That doesn't matter. That's not even a detail that matters. So-and-so did this, then this person did this. Oh, no. So a white man was yelling at a black man. Like, it turns into that every single time, which is part. I think Morgan Freeman said something like that too. Like, if we stopped talking about it, it wouldn't be there. And it's only here because you bring it up every time to every black person. And there's some black people who are fucking over it. A lot of people I know and a lot of friends I have are just like, God damn, why? And there are other people who think, oh no, who are the woke people who just sort of feel like, oh, okay, well, this is the thing that defines me. Not necessarily. How about you as an individual define you? But that's the problem with the stalkers, the news, the journalism, and the fake bullshit. All it does is it's other people trying to define you because they can't really hate you for who you are. So they have to hate you for who they say you are. Now, I've read a lot of bullshit about me. I am not who they say I am. I am who I am. If you want to get to know me, if you want to know my opinion on something, please ask. I am totally fine with that. You are allowed to comment. You are allowed to ask questions. You are allowed, as I said to Misanthropic Torment, I was like, yeah, send me an email. Talk about whatever the fuck you want. Who gives a shit? I'll jump on. Ask me questions. Pick my brain. I've done that for fans. I've done that now on this show at least one other time with the Bobby Pickle podcast. But Bobby Pickle podcast. Try saying that 3 times fucking fast. I did that with the Bobby Pickle podcast, but I've also done it with like Columbia liberal, progressive fucking students at Columbia University and NYU and all these other places when I was, working the media stuff for Proud Boys. I said, I want to talk to these fucking people because I want them to hear it from me. I know exactly how to word it. I've been writing about this for long enough that I know all these little scenarios and what goes on. So that's why I want to talk about it, because I don't want them just going up to some rando in the street who maybe it's his second day being a Proud Boy and he doesn't quite know how to articulate himself or doesn't know what the group is even about, which has happened before. So that was one of the things and my responsibilities that I did, because I went, no, I want to tell you why I'm part of this, why I think other people are part of this, and what we're actually about. And inevitably, all they'd want to do is say, how do you feel about blacks? How do you feel about Jews? What about gays? What about trans? What about Muslims? And it's like, oh my God, dude, isn't there like a blanket? Like, can I get a stamp or something? Can I get like a, I don't give a shit what race you are passport? Like, but it doesn't matter. Forever and always. All you really have to do now is say I'm conservative, or I support Trump, or I'm right wing, or I vote Republican, or I vote Republican sometimes, or Republicans have some good ideas. That's all you have to say. And now they will malign you as a racist forever. They'll try, and it doesn't end there. With Martina, which is the overlying story we have, the stalkers in her life cost her job, cost her agent. Then she moved on and got another job. They started calling that job and saying, and demanding she be fired. So the question becomes, what do they want here? How do I give you what you want? Right? So if you're stalking me, you think I should be fired. You think I should be kicked out of my house. You want me to be arrested. Whatever, for whatever reasons you made up in your head. What do you want? What can I do? If I quit my job, will you leave me alone? Well, no, because if you get another job, you shouldn't be around those people either. Okay, so what do you want me to do? You want me to die? You want me to kill myself? Like, what more am I supposed to do? Or you could accept that we all live in a world where people are going to think different than you. And in some cases, people are going to think the opposite of you. And it doesn't necessarily make each and every one of them a bad person. And you don't have to exaggerate it to the hilt. And instead of going, oh, that guy is a conservative and I don't like his ideas. Oh, and he's also kind of out arguing me. So I'm going to call him a Nazi. You're a Nazi. He's just a racist, and try and dismiss him, and then take it a step further and say, not only is he a racist, he should be fired. He should be cast out of society. He should be dragged through the streets, tarred and feathered. It's all fucking bullshit. It's all bullshit. You could just calm down and go, well, I disagree with that fucking guy. And if he has anything to say about it with me, I could out-argue him. Problem is, and this is what I say about all the progressives that I've talked to, when they're so surprised when they interview me that I don't know, that I don't jump up and just bite their ear off or something. They're always shocked at that. But I always say to the progressives, well, here's the disadvantage you have. I know what you're going to say. You have no idea what I'm going to say, because I know what your argument is. I know how you really think. And I also have a counter argument to that. When it comes to being a conservative, they don't know what we think. If you ask a progressive, what do you think conservatives think about, like welfare or something? They go, well, they're racist and they don't want black people to eat, so they're against welfare. Is that the reason? No, that's not. If you ask me, do you have a problem with welfare? I'd say yes, and then I'd explain why. I wouldn't just say, oh my God, that doesn't matter. They'll put words in your mouth. They already, when they sit down and talk with most of us, and sometimes I'm using a political example because we talk about politics a lot, but it could be about anything. They put thoughts in your head, words in your mouth. Have you ever been in a relationship where you're dating someone who everything, like they get mad at you because they have a movie in their head about you. And in that movie, they're the star. They play you. They play themselves. They're the writer. They're the director. They did the lights. They score the soundtrack. And they brew the coffee in the fucking morning at craft services. Have you ever been with somebody like that? It's the same thing with all these online creeps, these targeted harassers, and these journalists. They have their idea. They picture you doing something bad, and that is enough to justify destroying your life. And they tried to do that to Martina Markota unsuccessfully, because she's doing very well. Go check out Martina Markota's live stream. It might be called the Lady Alchemy live stream, but either way, check it out. Definitely subscribe to her. They tried to do it with Michael Graves, down to the point where one of his guitar players, at least one band member, left his band. Now, here's the thing, and I said this to him on the Bobby Pickle show. I don't give a shit if he doesn't like you and just thinks you're a dick or is tired of you and wants to move on to something else. That's one thing. But over a lie, over being like, well, Michael supports this, that must mean he's racist because everyone's calling him racist. It's like, no, if everyone in the world called me or him or anyone else that I'm associated with racist, doesn't matter if the whole world votes on it. It is what it is. Facts are facts. Voting doesn't change facts. Did you know that? Do you know that even if like 9 out of 10 people think I'm a racist, I'm still not? Doesn't matter. It's called having principles. You just calling me a name and doesn't mean that I am now that name if it's factually inaccurate. And you could ask me questions about it all fucking day, but they don't want to because they don't know. They don't want to know the answers. And the few who are dumb enough to tango with Paul Bazile. Oh, it's out there. Oh, look up Paul Bazile on RT, Destroys Code Pink. Look up Proud Boy versus Antifa, or Proud Boy gets ambushed by Antifa. It was on the radio. Oh, I can't think of the show. Oh, that lasted like 45 minutes. It was a bloodbath. Why? And I didn't know what was going on with Antifa guys. I just went out, called the show, and they thought, oh, we got this guy because we're fucking brilliant. And my God, by the end of it, one of the guys who was kind of apolitical was like, I want to join the Proud Boys right now. And the other guys started crying. It got fucking crazy because you don't want to fuck with a guy like me. And you don't want to fuck with somebody like most of you out there, because most people who would even be listening to me at this point know what they're talking about going into it. They know what we're all about. They know what you're about, or you know what you're about, and you know how to argue it and make a detailed point, which is a lot harder to get across to people than a soundbite. And I will also leave you with this. It is a lot easier. It is a lot easier to convince people of a lie than convince people that they've been lied to. The great skeptic and magician, the amazing Randy, said that. And it couldn't be truer today than about anything else. I appreciate you guys being here with me. Once again, you don't have to like it. You don't have to subscribe. And we can keep this between you and me.